Hello everyone. I welcome you all to the another episode of Stootap Talks. Today we are delighted to welcome Dr. Nikita, Head of the Strategic Partnership at Syncoro Ventures, and a PhD in cell biology, a startup ecosystem leader, and an expert in innovation and research commercialization. Welcome you all with this journey ahead. Hello, ma'am. I warmly welcome you to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Anushka, for inviting me over here. And it's been honor to share my journey and to share something that I'm deeply passionate about. And I hope that today's conversation reaches as many as young researchers, innovators across. And even if it touches one life, I think this is worth it.
Yeah, this is true. Because as you said, as we are discussing, that you are an expert of research commercialization. So, could you please explain it in simple words for the ones who are hearing this term for the first time, research commercialization?
So, uh, I get this question a lot. I hear this, that what is a PhD person doing into this particular startup ecosystem and a venture builder ecosystem. And I feel that I'm fortunate to have lived both the worlds. One is I have got an exposure of the corporates, and on the other side, the startups, and how the research and how the university ecosystem works. And I realized that both the ecosystem, both the entities, are desperately, needing each other. And when I started my PhD, I thought I ended just as other people who, just publish their PhD thesis, and it's there in Shodh Ganga for the reference. And there was no translational research. Correct. Later on, when I had my own startup, where we patented an idea and commercialized it. So that was the moment when I realized that, okay, the patents and the research papers that we publish as a PhD or a researcher should not end in scrap like that. It has to reach the world. And I started digging in deep as, what are the ways? Because after coming on this side of the table, I realized that what we are taught at universities is only the half of the thing, because the research that is being done, we spend 5 to 7 years in finding something out. And then we say that, okay, hey, you have done this, you will be getting a promotion, you will be getting, because you publish a paper, you will be getting more citation, and that's the credibility building. So this is the, uh, what to say, the sad part of what university teaches across India. But when I stepped on the other side of the table, I saw that there are a lot of corporates who are looking out for such innovations, because they want to have expand their business, they want to have a vertical. Many a times they want a solution that is already there with the universities. So I and both these ecosystem work in silos. So then I thought that where is the gap? This is, and both the ecosystem talk a different language. Correct. Researchers will speak about on with a different language, and there will be TRLs, this, that, and the corporates will be like, okay, when will I be getting the ROIs, impact, this, churns, and everything. So then we came up with this. It is not a new term, the research commercialization. I think if we go back to our ancient history of our India, and I recently wrote this article like on LinkedIn a couple of days back, where I mentioned that before this buzzword came, we already had the system of commercializing the research. Because if we see the Shushrutas, Maharshis, right? So what it was 2,500 years back when we had he discovered, like he used to practice, in fact, 300 types of surgical procedures and having like more than 100 surgical instruments, and they used to practice it. Then there was the indigo paint, the dyes that we used to manufacture, that we used to be traded, right? The cloth that we manufactured was also exported. So that is why, if we dig in our own roots, we will not be surprised with this particular so-called terminology of research commercialization, where actually whatever we discovered was for the market. And I think Thomas Edison, I think he quoted this term that it said something like this, that I won't build anything that cannot be sold. So he was very much clear. And I think we already practiced this in our ancient India. So research commercialization is not always about building a startup or what to say. It's just that, okay, there are many different processes of commercializing the research. So I think later on, once we deep dive, we will definitely go inside as what are the ways of commercializing, how to identify. I think we'll definitely take that thing forward. But in simple words, if I put this, research commercialization is a process of making your research available to the society to be used, and not to just be there stocking up in all the repositories that are out there.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for such a beautiful way you have explained this complex term, research commercialization. Ma'am, as you said, in the ancient times, India has been the hub of innovation and also did a lot of innovations and commercialized it throughout the world, not just in the country. So, due to these things only, India is called as a Vishwa Guru, and because we have the solutions of almost all of the problems that are not even defined yet in the outer seas also. So what do you think that where that innovation has gone throughout the time as the modernization come, industrialization come? So once these things came into place, so where these innovations has gone, these things are just compiled into the some pages of thesis and pages of research papers only.
Correct. So, this is something, I think the answer we already know, more or less, is we might have come across this saying that if you want to rule a particular company, then destroy civilization, something like that quote, right? So I think when other what to say intruders came in India, this is the first thing that they did. Correct. And then uh, we who were actually the brain, right, of a knowledge hub, slowly became the consumer. Correct. And we started depreciating our own ideas, our own worth, our own credibility. We started self-doubting, and we started, you know, that's a very bad word. I would not use that, but we started enjoying and cherishing the laziness, the lethargicness, by not using our brains. And this is not just one generation, it has been through generations of the comfort that we have started enjoying. that okay, what we will do is, okay, let this person, XYZ person, develop, and we will be using the ready-made material from this, we will be importing it from here, and we will be doing it from here. And then what our actually brains who were there in India felt that, okay, we are not being worked over here. So that is how the brain drain eventually started in India. So if you see, the researchers, the good folks, the intelligent folks started leaving India and shifting to other developed countries. Correct. And the good part that now the government has done is, recently the government has launched something called Prime Minister Research Fair, where he has started inviting the best Indian researchers who are there out in other countries to come back to India and start working. But then what I feel is, we are inviting those, but again, we don't want them to just work. We if only we should only invite them when we are ready with the system. So here's the thing, that it is not that India is not having a good research institutes. We are not having that great laboratories or the facilities, because I myself have been a witness of amazing facilities that our India is having in terms of research and in terms of brain. But it's just the system is only giving credits to those who actually publish paper and get what to say promotions based on just publishing and on the citation, and not on the impact they create. And sadly, our system, so I'll just compare with the system that is there in US and other places. So because I started this searching more on research commercialization, I learned something, that the professors in, let's say, MIT, I'll just give you an example of a professor named Bob Langer. Correct? You might have heard this company called Moderna, thanks to COVID. Correct? So he is one of the brain behind the Moderna. Correct. And he is a professor at MIT, having 40 companies, more than 1,400 patents. So this is the system that particular country has built for the professor, for uplifting them and making them feel that no, beyond 9 to 5 job, there is something that will add a credibility to your straight career, right? Which is, I feel, absolutely missing here, except for the BITs and BITs and the IITs. I think those are the hardly handful of, I would say, institutes. Those are doing good research. Obviously, of recently, BIRAC has come up. DST has also started doing it. But then if you see, the majority of the university resides in tier 2 and tier 3. What about them? There, if you say, there is this mindset problem. The root cause of this entire thing is the mindset. We haven't given them this mindset. What we have given them is, okay, your job is from 9 to 5. You take lectures, you do this, and then after that 9 to 5, you are free. You will be getting your salary, even if you will be having your vacation, this, that, we have given them so much of comfort. And then we have also not introduced this system that they get that spark, that the grit to actually pursue something beyond their academic responsibilities. Correct? So just tell me this, which professor would not want to have a salary that is beyond, what to say, a salary of a CEO or something? So, for example, I was just talking about Bob Langer. He's listed in one of the richest professor on this planet. Every professor, if you talk to them, they will be having this thing that, okay, no, we will be getting only this much salary, this much promotion every year. We will be retiring with this amount. But this vision that they have the potential, they have the capacity, they have the resources, earn more, to contribute more is not at all provided. I think they are oblivious of all these things which are there. Recently, I'll just give you an example. I was talking with a group of professors from, I'll not name that institutes, but when I was talking about that, okay, what kind of patents do you file? I was just going through all the patents that are being filed. So they shared me their entire this thing that, okay, this year, we have broken the record of filing X number of patents. And because we also help in commercializing those patents, are as Syncoro as a company, we come into picture after the patent is being filed. Correct. So I was so disheartened, and my heart actually broke when I saw those patents just for the sake of filing patents and for getting the promotion. And the professor were very blunt and very clear about it that, okay, ma'am, that look, our main agenda and main goal is to climb the ladder. And this is one of the check mark that the government has given, that, okay, if we want promotion, if we want, salary hike, this has to be fulfilled. X number of patents, X number of papers, X number of citation, X number of conferences attended, X number of PhDs we roll out. So this is the metrics that our own government, our own system has set. So I think more than anything else, it's the mindset and the system that has to be shaken badly.
Yes, ma'am, this is absolutely true. And also, there is a research has been done recently which says that Korea spent 6% of its budget on the innovation part, and the other countries like China spent about 2.3%. And when it comes to India, we are just lying at 0.6% for that. So, somewhere we are, what do you think, where we are lacking of here? Are we lacking of in the innovation part or the entrepreneurship part to just make idea into the transition impact?
So I'll just give you this number that if you just search the data of, let's say, 2023 or 2022, I'm not sure. We have registered, I think, nearly 2 lakh something odd PhD research scholars. That means, and we have more than 1,500 PhD colleges that provides this particular degree, and an infrastructure where government actually invests a lot of money over there. So I don't think that there is a problem of infrastructure. There is a problem of, let's say, people not wanting to get into research, or there is this lack of innovation happening or anything. The problem that I identify is, the mindset of, and not having that particular knowledge of as how to commercialize your research, or what should be the path to choose, how to do, what to do, whom to reach, all this. So there is this input, correct, and we are expecting an output, but there is a black box in between that we are not addressing to, correct. So I'll just give you my own example. Because I come from that ecosystem, I know what exactly the language they use or how they train us as a PhD. So except for those who are actually doing their PhD from, let's say, IITs and the BITS or KIT in that matter, the other institutes and the professors, what they say is, okay, what I was also even told, that Nikita, look, I was very much passionate about, doing something very novel, very innovative. When I entered my first year of PhD, and I was like, look, professor, I want to have my thesis as a whole, and I want to do this part, this part. So if you Google my thesis, also my thesis is having a chunk of an exposure of all the domains, because I wanted a holistic exposure. So that was out of my stubbornness. I went out of the way and did that kind of research, interdisciplinary research. But if you see the other theses, if you see what our professors teach us is like, okay, you're not going to get a Nobel Prize for doing this research. You are doing research. That means you are researching what you are doing and get a degree. Next step is then apply for assistant professorship, and then your life is all set. Because if you get into a government system, nobody is going to remove you. Correct? So this is what we are teaching our next generation. Correct? So at Syncoro, what we thought is we will need a lot of effort. Correct? So why corporates who are actually having a problem statement and want to find a solution, why are they not going to the university? Because they actually feel, and what we also felt, that the IPs that are being filed at university are just for the sake of filing. We cannot actually translate it over here. So except for, it has been 1.5 years me doing this activity, I found one patent that was worth. So I think we have to address the root problem. That is, first we have to empower our professors. We have to enlighten them that, okay, hey, this is the part, because every professor is having 5 PhD scholars. Correct? So imagine Dr. Bob Langer, who has 40 companies till date, right? So his each and every thesis is a company. Imagine that happening in India. Let's say 2.3 lakh PhD scholars registered in, let's say, 2022, 2023. Even 1% of those 2.3 lakhs think of, let's say, I want to have a company or I want to commercialize my research. See the impact it will be directly. 2,330 some companies coming up, or licensing coming out, the corporates being helped. So this is the impact. It's a domino effect that will happen. Correct. So I think and that is why I wrote this book on research meets commercialization. After understanding that, okay, what corporate wants, how this process is being done, and what research institute is lacking. So because I had this puzzle here, I was like, okay, let me bring everything together in a book that was first supposed to be like a workbook. It is actually a workbook kind of a thing where you can actually do, experiment, learn, and then launch. So it has the entire process where I think they will not even require us, because here our job is to empower and not to make them dependent on us. Correct. So I think this is the base, the foundation where we need to actually, the Indian ecosystem needs to, work. And why we see that other nations are so developed, as you rightly mentioned, that US and China, they put lot of money into this particular. They give this importance. Correct. So if India wants to thrive and compete with these nations, the only, I think, not the only, but one of the pillar that India needs to very critically work on, is empowering each and every university to become that hub of translational research, and not just calling so-called research institutes.
Yes, ma'am, this is true. And as you said that Am I audible now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So, as you said, that as the PhD holders, they usually release a number of patents, and only 1 or 2% of people just actually commercialize their business. And if they do so, so we actually get a hundreds and thousands of companies into place. So, can you tell me that at what stage the commercialization should be done so that like if a person has got the patent of it, so he or she could start working on commercializing their business or their ideas and the research.
Correct. So, you know what? I'll just give you a brief as what the commercialization, the pathways are, correct? Before jumping into when should they, and before jumping into the pathways, I feel it is more important for any researcher. I think this should have been the activity of each and every researcher who is entering, what to say, into this PhD. They should know their own archetype, because each and every human being has a trait. It's not just for researcher, it also goes for the founder, correct? So in my book also I have mentioned like couple of archetypes that are there, correct? So one should first know that what is their own personality. So am I the person who is like what was it, the pioneer who always thinks about long term vision, this that? Am I the innovator type, or am I an architect type, like who you give, like a person who loves to solve the chaos? If you give them a chaos, they give you a system. Or if you are a person who are actually an individualist who knows how to tell the story, or you are an empathetic person who actually wants to do something for the society and the social cause and everything. So I have listed down all the archetypes that are there. First, what you do is you identify your archetype, that what kind of personality you are, because research commercialization doesn't always mean that you have to have a startup, correct? Because every individual is different, and every individual's this thing, vision, mission, this everything is different. So once you identify that, you can definitely have your partner, or if you want to have a startup, you can definitely have uh, what to say, the complementary, a person with a complementary skill sets, correct? Then what I have done is I have put an ideas framework in my book. So once you have identified uh, your archetype, then you go into this particular thing. So there, if you go through the ideas framework, there the I that stands for identifying the core, correct? Your passion, like just I said, the identifying the archetype. Then what drives you, correct? So driving force for me would be different, and driving force for you would be different, correct? So what drives you uh, then decides that what you actually want to do, correct? Then how much are you connected with that particular problem statement, or the people, or who is going to actually use your idea, how much are you that. So that E stands for empathy with that particular group of people for whom you are actually solving. Correct? Then comes operations. So, do you have that system in place? Do you have what to say, a team in place? Correct? If you are a professor, do you have that bandwidth? Do you have this? Identify that. Then S is for the story. Then you say that, okay, this is what I actually want to do. Correct? Then you see that, okay, which pathway am I fit for? So pathways, there are 4 to 5 major pathways of commercializing. One is a professor or a researcher can do a pure consulting, correct? Of helping, let's say, a corporate of solving one particular problem as a consultant. That okay, if you are doing this, I think these are the X number of places you need to take care. So this is a pure consulting which people do, correct? So there is a value of your time, correct? But then there is a limitation to it, because you have to have your academic work done, and then you have a limited time, and then you can only take a couple of, what to say, assignments like that. Correct. The second is licensing. So suppose you have a patent filed, correct? So once you have a patent filed and you feel that, okay, this patent actually addresses the pain point of, let's say, X industry. Suppose if I have developed something that, and I have filed a patent regarding some paint that can be done on, let's say, solar panels. Correct. So that means I have a patent now, a paint that can be painted on this, which increases efficiency, this, that, lowers the cost and brings ROI. So if I say this story to, let's say, um, the biggest giants of the solar industry, let's say, for example, Vari. Correct, because we are based out of Surat and Vari is from Surat. That is why I'm taking this. So if I go and pitch this to Vari, then Vari would be more than happy to, take that up. They will definitely have a try and everything, trial and error round and everything. But then they would be interested. So what I can, as an individual, do is I can say, Vari, that okay, hey, I would want to license this to you for X number of years for this region. Okay. So that's one way. Second, I can directly sell off my IP to Vari, that, okay, hey, I don't want to continue. I don't want to have anything. I don't want to even have a royalty share or anything. Take this thing. And I'm free. Third, we can co-build. So what Vari will do is, at upfront, it will give me, I will go and pitch that, okay, hey, I have built something, but it's still here. And what you can do is that, okay, I need X amount of money to complete this particular project, and we can co-build it. So after the grants that government gives to us, let's say a researcher, then the corporate can come into picture. They can facilitate the entire, so it's like de-risking. Correct. After that, once that is done, you can have, depending on your terms, you can have a royalty share or a revenue share, whatever fits. Correct. So this is one. And last is the spin out. Spin out is purely, as I told, Dr. Bob Langer has 40 odd companies. Correct. Each and every PhD thesis is one company. So that an individual can do. Okay, they feel that this idea is actually very great. I want to have it as a company, as an entire entity, and I want I'll put, I'll shift from this to this. So that's the orbit shift. So one person has to decide that whether they still want to stay in the university ecosystem and license it out, or have a JV, or have a co-build it. Those are the pathways. So depending on the archetype, depending on your personality, depending on the ideas, you then decide that which particular path you want to actually proceed with. So I wish that I was being, told all these things when I was doing my PhD. This is now that I have learned, and that is why I want more and more researchers to be aware about this, because the first that we have to work is at the awareness level. Then the execution level and everything will come. Once that awareness is built, I think the rest is the path is very easy. And people like us, there are a lot of people like us. So now I have realized that if you want something, that, okay, I want to reach here, the people outside the corporate are really very helpful. The companies like us who are venture builder genuinely wants to help. But then the first step has to be taken from there. Correct.
Yes, ma'am. This is true. So, ma'am, can you tell me what is the biggest misconception is there when it comes to the research and the patents and like the intellectual property?
Biggest misconception is only this, that people feel that their job is done once they have filed the patent. And I feel that actually the work begins after that. And people are oblivious of what actually the next leap is. Because if you see, we have lots of patent. So we are actually sitting on a gold mine, if you see. Correct. It's just we don't know how to encash it. And then we crib and we say that, okay, this is what we are destined to, this is what our faith is. Baba, this is not the faith. It is just that you are not aware about it. You don't know the ways. First, this is the base that we need to create. This is the foundation that India needs to work.
Yes, ma'am, this is true. Because unless and until those patents are not coming to picture as an impact, there is no use of them. They are just like a leap of and a bunch of books that are just there and just showcasing in the library.
Correct, absolutely. I think that quote that I mentioned, I think every PhD scholar, every professor should have it in bold, that if this is not sellable, I'm not going to invest my years of this thing into it. Because I believe that research can create a legacy and an impact. So I feel sad when talking to a lot of researchers, that they say that, okay, commercialization, it is not that we have to market everything, and we cannot compare every virtue with money or everything. I'm not saying to be greedy. That's not the message that I want to pass. Research commercialization is not professors becoming greedy. It's about uh, making it reach to the users. Because if it is not going to reach the users, it is not out in the market, it is anyway useless. And anyways, you are not going to create any impact. Anyways, you are not doing good to the society. Correct. So it's not about the money. But when this is the shift, when money moves in, then the priority moves in. Correct. For any corporate. So unless and until there is no money, there is no action, there is no value, there is no, multiplier effect. So I think these misconceptions, I think, has to be addressed, and it has to be, clarified with all the folks out there. Correct.
Yes, ma'am. So, as you said that a number of patents are there, and this is the main misconception that needs to be addressed. So, according to you, what is the advice you can give to the people who are just now in their PhDs or writing and researching about that and they want to commercialize their patents so that they could create an impact in overall world?
So more than researcher, I would give the advice in layers. So first I would give it to the government to bring in that system, and then first empower the university. And the university, so the second is the university should adapt that system. We have technology transfer offices, if you say, correct, in India, who actually helps to file the patent. Correct. But then I feel that universities should also have the system of commercializing those patents. It's a job of the technology transfer offices to connect with people like us so that we can evaluate those patents, help the professor, help the university to get it commercialized, because we enjoy a sweet spot of having a relationship with the corporate and understanding their mindset and knowing the language that university speaks. Correct. So I think we bridge that gap. Correct. So I would just request of the universities that, hey, you can do it by yourself if you know it. in the entire process, that's okay, but do. Correct? If you don't, we are here to help. And then comes to the professors and the researchers that, just ask this question that are you just do you just want to live life or you want to create a legacy? So if they start asking this question, simple question, then there is they will definitely get that answer. And for as how to take this thing forward, I think there are many people like us who are there who genuinely wants to help, genuinely wants to create that impact, handhold such professors, uh, PhD research scholars, universities. Correct. And that is why we thought that let us bring these three parts all together, and that is why we are also coming up with some event called Ep.8 2027 in let's say April 2027. So we have already started planning for that particular event, where it is not just going to be another conference or something, because what we felt is we have to take those first step of creating awareness. I know that was the hard part when I was talking with Kashyap, who is the founder of Syncoro Ventures. We both were just discussing. He was like, Nikita, what do you actually want to do in life? I was like, Kashyap, look, this is what I feel. I come from science background, and my heart and my soul will always remain to it will always come for that particular community, and I always wanted to do something for this particular community. And he comes from a pure enjoying the corporate relationship, the best of the world. So he was like, okay, we are the perfect people to actually work on it. Because many a times what happens, those who actually understands research doesn't understand this particular industry. For example, I'll just give you an example of one of these startups. Now, this is not only IP commercialization is not only limited to the researcher. It also implies to the startups as well. Those startups who actually have their IPs filed, if they want an additional income, what they can do is they can also license it to the corporate, give them out for that, regional licensing to ex corporate. Correct. So that is a revenue stream that they have generated, which I think India's startup ecosystem is oblivious. But okay, I can also do this. Correct. They also have, let's say, if they have n number of products, one of the product, they can definitely sell it to the corporate. Like, okay, this IP of this product, I want to sell it because I have 30 more in my kitty. Correct. So this, even the startups are not aware about. That's the sad part. So I was just talking about this anecdote of I recently faced was I went to a pitch event where I was invited as a jury. I was talking, there was this roundtable conference of, let's say, 30 odd investors, and then one startup coming in and pitching. So there was, I precisely remember this incident was because that founder later, he came to me and he was like, thank you so much and everything. Because that person, that company was working on something called FBS. That's called fetal bovine serum. So this is a jargon. This felt like a jargon to all the investors. They were like, what do you think we can do FBS? And I was like, okay, you are working on FBS. You are having an alternative lab grown version of FBS. And he was like, hey, yes, we have a patent filed. And, this is what we are looking out for. And I got very excited. Why? Because I come from that particular domain and industry, and I know the use case of FBS and the industry that it is going to create an impact, which is like a global market that's out there. Correct. So I started asking the question, and the other investors, they were like, you are talking all the jargon. This is not at all a feasible idea. I don't think this is going to work. And this is the feedback that other investors got. And then the founder came to me that, okay, ma'am, I think you come from a research background. And I was like, yes. And he's like, that is why you were able to understand my product well than the other investors. And he told me that it's been 3 years I have been going and pitching to all the events and getting this response, and it disheartens me. Correct. So I feel that we need again, I will go back to the very first thing that I mentioned, that a lot of people ask me what is a PhD doing in startup ecosystem. I would say that's a wrong question. I would say, why are there not more PhDs into the startup ecosystem? Because we need more people to bridge this gap, because this gap is very huge and it cannot be done by one person. So I would also, encourage more and more people that, okay, you become the enabler or you become the doer. Correct. So this is one advice, one, piece of thing, a takeaway that I would give to each and every one, that, let India become what it was in the ancient history, the intellectual capital. Correct. And let us be again the provider, then being a consumer. So if this shift we do, I think we will be able to beat anybody, across the globe, and again become, get our own position back that was there in our ancient history. We just need to deep dive our roots, and it's just like a Hanumanji, recalling all his powers. It's high time that India also does this.
Yes, ma'am, this is true, and we can again achieve the that position of Vishwa Guru throughout the world.
Interesting.
So, ma'am, can you tell me that what is the one thing nowadays that India is already doing, but the overall world is still underestimating it?
So if I tell you, there is no as such kind of one thing that India is doing, because India is so intellectually diversified that there is no one such domain that India can dominate on. It is almost all the domains that India is actually working at ground level. Few of things I cannot even say, but there is the answer to this is simple, that because I was just going through this again. I'll come back to what this PM chair committee, with the kind of thing, the Prime Minister research committee, the chair thing. They have listed all the 13 domains that now India will be aggressively getting into. It is definitely healthcare. It is definitely quantum computing, and semiconductors, AI. So these are the domains that India has started focusing more on, even in the space tech and defense, all these things. Blue economy is there. So there is a list of 13 such domains. I think it is available on Google. I think people just need to go there and see that, okay, what are the opportunities India is actually building on. Because while talking this, I just got this. I just recalled this incident that happened to me. So while I was talking to one of the technology transfer office person, he was like, okay, because you work with a lot of corporates, can you identify their pain points, as we don't know in which where to do our research, and what thesis or what subject suggestions should we give to our professors. And I was like, that's a good question. It was a sarcasm. So why? Because definitely we can do. That's the easiest part, that okay, we can plug and play and everything. But then they should have studied what are the grants that government is giving right now. The reason is because I told them that if you look at all the grants and new policies that government is actually building on, you know, then you wouldn't have had asked this question to me, because that itself answers that government is planning, to achieve this in next 10 years. Correct. Then and then only the government will invest taxpayers' money in splurging all these grants in these particular sectors. Correct. So I think we need to have our eyes and minds open as which sector India is actually evolving. Just as I mentioned, there is a right, recently government has just published this 13, focusing on this 13 sectors. There might be many more which might have not crossed my mind, because I'm also a human being. My brain only has a capacity to memorize certain things, and now I have after AI, I think that memorization part and everything should be left on AI, and other part should be done on us. Yes.
Yes, ma'am, this is true because since the way that AI came, it has almost taken away most of our critical thinking parts.
True. Correct. Correct.
So, as the journey along that you have had since as a child to the PhD holder and to an expert and in innovation and research commercialization, what one advice would you like to give to your younger self?
That one advice is, I would just give one advice to my younger self, is to go and read this book, because I feel that we have measured the success only by number of papers or publications, uh, uh, and we were convinced that researchers cannot become an entrepreneur. Correct. So I think I would go and erase that misconception in my younger version, and give my younger version this book, that go and read this and apply this. Correct. So that's one piece of advice that I would give my younger self.
This is very beautiful because until you are not capable of just developing the skills you have, so it will be a disaster and it will not help you grow in future also.
Definitely, definitely. So I believe that this should become a part of a curriculum itself. Correct. So if I become a part of a system, I would definitely make this a compulsion for every researcher to have this book as one, let's say, a subject. Correct. Because we have heard this a lot of time that our research, researchers and the scientists, these particular group of set of people are like, they only have, they have a bookish knowledge and they cannot apply, and this is the mindset that other people are having, a perception that other people are having. But what I feel is, after talking even to the corporates, after having a revenue of, let's say, X amount, then they come to us and then they say that, okay, what next? Correct? What new thing we can do? And if researcher in that particular person's place would have been there, he would have already figured out. Because a researcher is having all the traits that we require in, let's say, our what to say, an entrepreneur. They are very strategic, they have a strategic thinking, they like to deep dive, they come to a conclusion, they are good problem solvers, they are critical thinkers, they are disciplined, they know how to present, how to think out of the box. So all these traits you see an entrepreneur that requires are already there in a researcher. So I always say this, that the next wave in India is going to be a researchpreneur. So this is the term that I always talk about, that it is not now entrepreneur was there. So now the next, the decade of India will be those of the researchpreneurs. And that's what our mission is right now, to, create as many as researchpreneurs we can.
This is very beautiful, ma'am. Seriously. Researchpreneur is such a beautiful term you have derived.
Because I believe that is going to be the foundation of the next wave of India's growth journey. Without that, it is impossible for India to take that leap.
Yes, ma'am, this is true. So, as for the final question, could you please tell me that what are you actually looking for as a future? Like, what is your future venture for the upcoming generation? What do you think about it?
So, venture as in what we are envisioning?
Yes, ma'am.
So, as I already mentioned, that this is the vision and the mission that we are working on, is India becoming what it was in the ancient history, the intellectual capital. And I don't want Syncoro to be also remembered as just another startup ecosystem company that's there. I want it to be remembered as an organization that helped India to move, from just the intellectual property to the intellectual prosperity, I would say, and empower nearly, let's say, to our capacity, because we are a one company. So at least we can bring like 100 researchpreneurs in life and successfully commercialize at least 100 breakthroughs and positively impact lakhs of researchers, giving them a vision as what they can do. And I think that's the only reason we took the step of building the Ep.8 2027, which is not going to be the another event, but a platform that is bringing researchers, university, corporates, investor, policymaker together to turn, this intellectual uh, capital into a nation impact, where we can actually say that now we are the intellectual capital, and having that strong footing in the world.
This is very beautiful, ma'am. Seriously. Thank you so much for having such a beautiful conversation, and thank you so much for sharing such a beautiful insights with us.
Thank you so much to you, and you guys are doing amazing job of bringing people like us, because I always feel that whoever does this podcast or this thing, this is a knowledge sharing platform. So this is also your contribution towards India's growth journey.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
My pleasure. Okay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for coming to the podcast.
Most welcome. Sure.